Morning guys, Ethys here. It is now 6 AM as I take my second shot of double espresso and bring to you my thoughts on the PAX East Heavensward presentation that has just now finished. Firstly and most significantly, we have a release date. If you have not heard yet, Heavensward will launch on June 23 with early access available from the 19th and pre-orders opening on the 16th of March. So in just over a week from now, we'll be seeing a concurrent Mac release, and hey, the more the merrier, but what I really want to talk about is a couple of lore-related gems we can extract from the presentation, which was actually pretty lacking for big reveals. Before the Fall Part 2 was not mentioned at all, but Yoshida did close with a several-minute preview of some of the new areas we will be visiting. I'll just say everything is big. Heavensward is going to make the Shroud look like a garden. Firstly, Ishguard is a massive and breathtaking vertical city. The lower levels are called the Foundation, and they definitely showing the effects of the conflict. Very bleak and dilapidated and slummy, whilst the higher levels are called the Pillars and are clean and polished for the nobility. We can see here the class structure of Ishguardian society in a more dramatic way than even Uldar. We also saw the Coerthas Western Highlands, and if we know our Eorzean geography, we understand that this is the front line and border between Coerthas and Trevania. So we see a massive fortress wall, literally hundreds of meters tall, imposing over a flat tundra like some iron glacier, with giant spikes on chains stacked to some kind of massive defensive balustrade, or maybe even a kind of chain winch system that allows this wall to advance across the highlands like a literal glacier, slowly push against Trevanian territory. Who knows? This area is huge and open, we can fly in it, and it seems we can fly in pretty much all of the new areas, and the mounts all have this perfectly seamless ground-to-air transition. It's fantastic. Then the Trevanian Falls, with some real diversity in biomes, a lot of sparsely forested, swampy areas with these big mangrove-like trees. There are these nest structures that kind of look like giant termite mounds. I'd assume to be home of the Nath. And we can see adventurers fighting some Nath here, so that's as good as a confirmation as any. There's a cut to another breathtakingly large, half-demolished cathedral, and then another cut to a like a rocky plain with jutting plateaus. I'm just going to take a punt and say that this is the north of the Trevanian Falls, because it gives way to what I can only assume to be Abelathia's spine. Now, to support this, we see later in the footage a very brief shot of the inside of a volcano with what resembles a kind of void-sent shrine. This fits into what we know of Abelathia's spine, particularly that it is home to the Heavensward Rogaden, who ward over these volcanoes which they think to serve as gateways to the void. So I think we can expect to find out a lot more about the Heavensward, and I'm very excited for that. There are some beautiful shots of a player flying over the Trevanian hinterlands as well, which appear to be far more moderate in climate, very green with a lot of water and pine groves. Some massive buildings which look neither Ishguardian nor like anything else we have seen. Most notably, a massive and very Hellenic palatial structure. Again, if we reference our Eorzean geography, I would posit that this is in the southwest of the hinterlands, and I do not think it is a coincidence that this building very much resembles a reconstruction of the Library of Alexandria. If you haven't guessed where I'm going, I think we have a very good cause to suspect that this is the great library of the abandoned Charlayan city we know to sit at the south of Trevania. The shots of the churning mists, we have mostly seen already the huge crystalline cathedral and a number of ruins that also look kind of Hellenic but also kind of Nimian. I think they might be old infrastructure of the Vanu. I mean, being a beast tribe doesn't exclude them from being progressive, or else we're going to be learning about another ancient civilization that we have not even heard of yet, or maybe the dragons have a flair for architecture after all, who knows. There's at least one small Eorzean settlement on one of these islands that has evidently been annexed. There's some colossal flying pine cones, and finally there's a very clear Allegan structure which appears to be warping and corrupting the air around it. I imagine it's probably another kind of ethereal battery or a Dalamud prototype, or perhaps a weapons and staging platform that mobilized against Mericidia. We have seen some distant shots of this before, and we knew that Dalamud was not the only flying Allagan vessel, but I'm really excited to learn more about the Allagan conflict with the dragons of Mericidia, and this is clearly the place where we'll find some answers. As to whether this is a dungeon or the new 24-man raid, I'm not sure, but I hope it will prove as challenging as our encounters with Allagan remnants to date. One thing that was very briefly skipped over quite early in the presentation was Yoshida telling us that we would have to contest with 7 evil Worm Kings throughout the story of Heavensward, and these are no doubt the sons of Midgard-Sormer, and the way that this was put makes me suspect that we haven't encountered any of them yet, whereas I'd previously thought that maybe Twintania and some of the other great dragons we have thought were amongst them. Anyways, I'm sorry that this has been a bit of a chaotic ramble. I haven't had any sleep, but I wanted to get some ideas down while they were still fresh. I'm sure I'll be expanding on all of this and on the precious few new details regarding the jobs over the next few weeks, so look forward to that. If there's anything that you noticed during the stream that seemed to just beg for answers or give you some kind of spark, whether it supports or contradicts anything I've said, please leave a comment below. But for now, I'm going to make myself another coffee and find some food. But thanks for listening, and I will talk to you all again very soon.